Glendale are an old company. We've been established since 1990 and we now cover all of the UK, providing green services. Today I want to introduce our behavioural safety campaign, Grow Safe Together. As we look at our safety stats, we can see a significant change. Whilst we're not reporting many more incidents, the background potentiality for real serious harm is increasing. We're concerned that the way we're working is starting to generate circumstances that could lead to a really significant injury. There's a disconnect between the way that people are actually working in the field and the way we think we're working with regards to our procedures and safe working practice. We're not pointing fingers, we're not blaming the operational staff. This is a group problem. We have to establish methods of work that are safe, that allows people to go home after work safely to their family and friends.
Externally to Glendale, other people have become injured, and unfortunately in the last couple of years we've lost a couple of colleagues in the arboriculture industry through taking chance and through taking risk. One has struck himself in his neck and died through kickback of a chainsaw. Another man cut through his safety line and dropped to his death, something that we do not want to have here at Glendale.
Everyone in this group has absolutely a responsibility and the right to change the way we work for the better. And last but not least, we need to start intervening on behalf of our colleagues before they have an accident. So when we see an unsafe act, or we see an undesirable circumstance, or we've just experienced a near hit, we need to step in.
Very often it's not all about getting injured from the tool that's in your hand. It could be the environment around you. How often do you jump down off a trailer instead of using 3 points of contact and you jump down into a pothole and you roll your ankle? How often are you out there actually branch walking? You're branch walking along and your foot slipped.
I've been in the industry for 23 years. My accident happened about 15, 16 years ago. The tree I was doing was an extra large London plane. It was a crown reduction on the tree, which is pretty routine work. On the morning of the job, I wasn't feeling 100%. I was debating whether to go into work or not. So I met all the lads on site. We'd agreed that they'd bring my kit out to site. When I was looking through my kit, I noticed that I'd only had a short rope in there. Didn't really think nothing of it. There was a limb that was sticking out, so as the stuff was coming down, it was hitting the limb and falling into the carriageway. So without thinking, I'd just gone down to the limb, started branch walking along. I only had to take probably about 15 foot off the end, and I was just moving along, and I only had to move an inch, and it was that inch that you felt your hand tighten up. When that happened, it's a strange feeling, knowing that you've just come off the end of the rope and there's not much you can do to prevent the fall. I'd shattered both my heel bones and I'd shattered my right radial joint and my left arm and both my wrists. The likelihood of me being able to walk again was very slim. To have a doctor tell you that was a bit devastating. I was in a wheelchair for 6 months, endless physiotherapy. I had to make a makeshift bedroom downstairs in my house because I couldn't climb any stairs. It wasn't until 6 months later when I managed to get out of the wheelchair to actually walk with the aid of crutches. Looking at the risk assessments, it's something that could have prevented my injury. If I'd looked at that, saw my equipment wasn't adequate for the job, I could have quite easily ticked on there, equipment not adequate, either put the job on hold till a week later or gone back to the yard, which was probably only a 12-minute drive, picked up my rope and then come back to work and then carried the work out with the correct equipment.
Our job's difficult enough as it is, working at height. If your mind's not in it and you're not paying attention, it can cause any sort of myriad of accidents.
If I get to turn up on site on that day and I'm not feeling 100%, I haven't got the right climbing kit, or me men on the team aren't up for the job, we're jeopardising my own safety just to try and complete the job on schedule.
As arborists, our employment has a risk-taking nature. We work in risky environments every day, taking measured risks in line with our training and regulations. Sometimes we'll consider taking uncalculated risks because we think it'll be okay and nothing bad will happen to us. But we must understand that it's not just our own safety that we could be jeopardising in those instances, but also the safety of our colleagues and the public.
On this job today, we're going to be thinning and deadwood in this oak. We need to make sure we don't fall into complacency, doing the work every day. Just because it was okay last time doesn't mean it'll be okay this time. The techniques we were taught during our courses are there to keep us safe.
Everybody thinks it's a case of, oh, it won't happen to me, but that's why it's so important to report near hits and accidents so that people can learn lessons for the future to keep them safe.
And I guess just to go on that, just because you report it doesn't mean you're going to get in trouble. It's only there to try and keep us safe in the future.
That's it, yeah, because it's easy to have that attitude of just brush it under the carpet, whereas from that no one's going to learn.
It's important whilst on site that we communicate to ourselves as a group. We discuss the findings that are on our site-specific risk assessments so everybody is aware of the hazards and the associated risks. We must then communicate that out to the wider group. Yourselves reporting near hits and safety observations through the GlenSafe system, we can ensure that injury is prevented in the future and for going forward.
On the day of the accident, I was a two-man team, fell in trees. We all went to inspect the job. We were told we could chip on site, which had been easier than trying to drag the brush up to the truck. We checked the bridge at the time. It wasn't stable enough to have the truck go over. That's when we decided that we'll move the chipper over the bridge and chip directly on site. Once we unhooked the chipper, we started moving it, got a bit of momentum. Before I'd realised, I was pinned against the fence, sitting on the wall of the bridge, and the chipper had pushed my whole leg into my pelvis, breaking in 4 different places. So this is a 3D scan of my pelvis after my accident. You can see this side's the good side of my pelvis, and you can see on the bad side where the breaks are from the front. You can see where the ball joint has gone through. You can see where it's actually moved right out of its socket. I'd spend 10 hours in surgery. They had to put metal framework along the pelvis side and a metal pin to hold my pelvis back into place for it to heal. It has impacted my life. I have now got a permanent limp, more chance of getting arthritis, or I could have a hip replacement further down in my life.
Over the years, I've seen numerous incidents and accidents that could have been prevented. People taking risks, people rushing, people not communicating or not respecting each other. And what we want to see is people growing safe together and talking to each other and helping each other go home safely at the end of every day.
In the environment around here, there's stones with moss, which is very slippery, branches that you can fall on, and big steps which could end up twisting or even breaking an ankle.
It could be as simple as just not wearing gloves, going round where hypodermic needles are. That person can then become pricked. We've had 3 examples of that in the last 3 years. Imagine waiting for test results to come through, for HIV tests, for hepatitis tests. How does that affect you? How does that affect your family and your partner?
There are detailed initiatives that we would like everyone to get involved in. The purpose of those initiatives is to encourage everyone to take part in making this a safer workplace. So we're going to be undertaking a process called peer group review. Representatives from all parts of the business will be brought together on a regular basis, and they'll be asked to review near hits that have been gathered through GlenSafe, to review incidents and make recommendations back to the senior management team about how our procedures need to be changed to allow people to work more safely. We're going to be asking our managers to attend site, not with a checklist or an audit form, but just to come and talk to you, the people doing the work, to find out what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what needs to be changed. We're going to start awarding people for safe behaviour. So we're going to introduce a locally based safety award scheme that will recognise people for working safe together.
So today we've heard a lot about how we want to grow safely together. We've seen the issues that Andy and Adam have raised, the impacts on employees and their views. And we've also talked a lot about how we want to keep everybody safe in the workplace. Behavioural safety is not about fault or blame or audit. This is about empowering employees to take care of each other in the workplace.